Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back to another episode of the Creatives Podcast. I am your co-host, Simone Campbell.
And I'm your co-host, Tevin Brown. And New Mexico film is a very big and beautiful culture, which is why I absolutely love our next guest. He is part of IATSE 480, which is our local union here in New Mexico. He does props, set deck, sound, and he's also the videographer and photographer for Chieffalo Lighthouse, correct?
Lightcraft.
Chieffalo Lightcraft. It is Dylan Chieffalo. Dylan, thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for correcting me on Lightcraft.
No worries.
As well.
Nice to meet you both. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. So you are definitely a jack of all trades. You have so much, in your professional resume. So how did you make your entry into the creative industry?
I had a really cool video production teacher in high school named Mr. Schulte, and everybody would take his class. And I'm 32, so this was like 2009, my sophomore year of high school. Everyone would take his class just to use the computers, and I actually kind of took it seriously. And the curriculum back then was kind of like SNL type skits. And he was just he thought he saw something there, so he pushed me to go to film school. I went to film school in Pittsburgh at Point Park University. I had a lot of great teachers there as well, made a lot of good friends. A lot of the guys a year ahead of me were really helpful. That was half the reason of going to film school is when you make those connections there, and then those guys who graduated, they lift you up and help you get out in the real world. Mm-hmm. So just a lot of networking and a lot of really cool teachers.
That's fantastic. A good teacher means the world that can make all the difference.
Definitely, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely. And with you being part of IATSE, I know you kind of do a couple different crafts. Is there any that you kind of lean more towards, or do you just love kind of doing all the different ones?
I love all the different ones, but I'm definitely a swing gang set dresser. Swing gang is basically, our nickname is the furniture fairies. Everybody with the important jobs, the director and the cinematographer and that whole gang, they show up after our work is done. And so my example for my family when I was telling them when I got into it is Law and Order SVU. Those police offices that they're always in, we would set up the file cabinets and stuff like that. And I've worked on a lot of cop shows in Pittsburgh. Most of my resume is set dressing. That's anything from mild construction to you really have to learn how to pack. I just did IATSE 480 is such a great union, and they do a bunch of training courses for every craft. And I just did a set deck class. It was taught by my friend Ten Bears, who's a very successful lead man in town, and the lead man hired the set dressers. I took his class just for a refresher, and it's crazy what you forget over the years. Anything from knot tying. There's two really important knots as a set dresser: a bow line and a trucker's hitch, for just securing down all the property on the trucks, to packing all the small stuff up when a set is wrapped. Mm-hmm. So if you've ever helped a friend move, you could be a set dresser, and it's a fun job. It's more fun than helping your friend move, and it's a cool gig. But I've done, and doing set deck got me into props because they're kind of cousins. Mm-hmm. And then sound is what I studied in film school, and it's the hardest because it's the smallest department, so it's the hardest crew to join. It's just 3 people, no matter how big the show is, whether it's a commercial or a giant movie, it's usually just 3 people, 2 or 3.
Oh, wow.
And the really tough sound mixers boom op themselves. So, sound's my passion, but it's been very hard to get my foot in the door. But I boom op on a few shows, but primarily set deck, to answer your question.
Nice. No, I love that. And I actually love the specification because I know exactly what you're talking about, because I also work in IATSE 480, but I work in the rigging electric side. So I'm typically kind of running around you guys and helping plug stuff in.
Very cool.
Yeah, no, I just love that.
Yeah, and I'm curious because I think that especially set dressing props, you create the atmosphere for a show, and I think that you don't get the acknowledgement or appreciation that you deserve. So thank you, A, for doing what you do. It's so important. And B, what is that like, creating an atmosphere? I mean, I don't know how much freedom that you get personally, but
the first time I felt real freedom in set deck, the decorator on the show I was working on called American Rust, and Jeff Daniels from Dumb and Dumber, he doesn't like to be described as that, but I can't help it, I'm on the spot.
Don't listen, Jeff Daniels.
He's a really talented actor, and he's so much more than the funny guy second to Jim Carrey, but he did this show called American Rust in Pittsburgh, and it's this really cool cop show. And we had a really cool decorator on the show, and she let a lot of us take small objects and decorate this character's cabin. And then watching it air 6 months later, I was like, hey, that like little coffee can thing is still there. So I got to see little stuff I placed up here, because a lot of times they'll go in and just like redo everything, which is totally fine. But I was like the first, was like it felt like a win. Like as far as set dressing goes, I was like, yes, like I had an impact.
I did that. Yep.
I think that movie Juno came out right when I was in like middle school, high school, and I thought the set on that show, that's something like when you talk about atmosphere, that's like that's what I think of immediately is like that was a great movie in every aspect, but God did the sets like really make that show, like her bedroom, like the set on the lawn, like remember if you're familiar with that movie, like she's sitting in like a recliner in Michael Cera's front yard. Set dressers did that, like stuff like that really made me like want to get into it, because you're creating part of the character with their set.
No, I love that so much. And God, it's been so long since I've seen Juno, but I do remember that scene with the recliner.
How can we forget?
I know I'm too young. I guess kind of moving, because there's so much to talk about in such little time. Moving over to Chieffalo Lightcraft, how did that get started, and kind of what is that all about?
It's I got inspired moving to Albuquerque because I moved here to chase my IATSE stuff. It slowed down in Pittsburgh a little bit, and I knew it was going to pick up again, but I had lived in Pittsburgh my whole life, so I really just wanted to get to a new place, and I'd always been fond of Albuquerque, huge Breaking Bad fan. Watched it in real time when it was on TV. So like living here now, I'm like I feel like I'm in it. But I've just been really inspired by this place. It's the musicians more than anything. I kind of for the first 6 months here, I was shooting nothing but musicians, and I am one myself, and not really full time anymore. I've kind of moved to the crew side of the industry, but I love getting a good picture of a drummer or like a front person, and I know how to capture that vibe. I keep being told by my clientele. But there's tons of talented people in Pittsburgh, don't get me wrong. I think I just needed a change, and I just feel really inspired by Albuquerque, so I made that Instagram, and I've kind of started my own little photography business here, and I wasn't really doing that back in Pittsburgh. I was doing more like I was doing some videography like for a gym and a massage and spa and a Pilates studio, and I wasn't really being creative. I was mostly just working and keeping the skills sharp, but like here, getting pictures of these bands, I feel like I really get to express myself, and I'm making art with the bands. And, it's tapered off to one of the bands I shot has a family member who needs graduation photos, and I'm doing that this weekend. So it's really taking off and snowballing, and I'm going in all these different directions, whether it's headshots, portraits, BTS, I'm happy to do all of it. I invested in a really nice camera before I moved here, my Canon EOS 5D Mark IV. That thing does it's really half the battles. I point and shoot, and it does the rest, honestly. So, but no, Albuquerque, from like the mountains to the people, it's just I found it very easy. With all due respect to how hard it is to be a photographer, it's just come naturally here.
Fantastic. I mean, I can't think of a more picturesque state. At least maybe I'm biased because I love the Southwest, but definitely the place to be a photographer.
I agree.
For sure. So I'm curious too, photography, you're creating artifacts of moments, and capturing these pivotal memories for these people and for these artists. So how would you define your creative edge, or like what sets you apart from everyone else?
I think when it goes back to that phrase, capturing the vibe, I didn't come up with that, but I've been told that repeatedly. And so I guess just catching people in their moment, when I'm like watching a band perform, I kind of I'm not just sitting there shooting and then editing thousands of photos and going and finding the right ones. I know when to wait and when to take the picture, whether it's the front person or the drummers, and the guys playing guitars are important too. But I am like very biased when it comes to drummers and front people, because I feel like they're the ones I'm always catching. The guitarists are always so focused and stuff. Yeah. But I think I'll just capturing the vibe.
That sums it up. I love it.
I think it's why I'm less of a nature photographer and landscape. I do that stuff too, but like I really like shooting people and having a subject, and just like bringing out a side of them that they like might not have known they had. Yeah,
I love that. And as a singer and former drummer, I'm biased towards them too.
Nice.
So I get
That's awesome.
Yeah, what do you play?
I play drums. I've played drums since I was 12. It's about 20 years. Wow. I play a little bass too, but I haven't joined any bands in Albuquerque. I did that a lot in my 20s, and kind of got burnt out. And so I really like being on the other side of it, that part of the industry that elevates those people. And I think it's fulfilling when you send the pictures over and they're just like, oh my God, like, oh, I wasn't expecting them to be this good. Like, not in a bad way, but just I've had that reaction a lot, and it means a lot.
That has to feel so gratifying.
It does. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then I guess kind of like honing more into it, because I feel like, especially a lot of people who not necessarily think they're photographers, but just think photography is just kind of like the point and shoot kind of thing. What all kind of goes into what you do for photography, like before you ultimately send it to your clients or anything?
Oh, I'll give you an example. I have this shoot booked this Saturday for the graduation photos, and I got to pick the venue, and I told them I'd like to do golden hour, and in Albuquerque it's like huge, you know, going and shoot, like we're gonna shoot from like 6:45 to 7:30 with the sun moving.
Oh yeah.
And if you haven't been to the Park Hotel, I give them a shout out. Their rooftop bar is really cool. When you have either a view of downtown or a view of the Sandias, so I'm gonna get both of those. So when I'm preparing for a shoot, you know, since it's grad photos, I'm not gonna you know, go too heavy on the effects. Like with the bands, I'll make them look anything like from like a movie poster for The Matrix to, you know, something of that ilk. But you know, for the grad photos, so I got the time of day, I got the venue, and I'm gonna go ahead of time. I'm gonna go this Tuesday and practice on my buddy. And you know, so like I have an app called Light Meter. I recommend it to any like young photographers or any photographer watching. It's a one-time payment on the iPhone, and it's just like an old light meter from like, you know, the 70s or 80s. I think they've probably been around longer than that. You would use them with film cameras. And this one's just on the phone, and it works exactly the same. And it'll tell me the exact settings to put in on my camera from manual. And because sometimes I'll use auto settings if I'm shooting at Rensden in Borales.
Oh,
It's a
sweet.
really
Yeah.
cool punk rock venue, but God, is it hard to take pictures there.
I bet it is.
Especially when the bands bring fog machines. I've struggled, so I'll just switch to auto and just hope for the best. But typically I like to go in manual. I like to do you know, settings. So getting there a half hour early, getting my settings, knowing what time I'm going to be there. And then I edit in Lightroom, and I colorize the photos, you know, mess around with the light. But you know, typically I just like to, in advance, I like to know what my subject's going for, and the bands are typically all going for the same thing. There's a lot of great metal bands in town who I've worked with more than anything else. Just a happy accident, but that's like helped a lot, because when I'm stuck in that genre, you know, it keeps getting better and better every time I do it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Oh, yeah.
No, that was perfect.
I'm curious. Did you ever shoot at Fly Honey Warehouse before they shut down?
No, I got here in May of last year.
Okay.
I've lived here for about a year now, so I might have missed out on that spot if it's closed.
Wow, you just got here.
I know, yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And we didn't already say it.
Yeah.
Thank you. It'll be a year on May 3rd.
Okay.
That's when I got here. So.
Sweet. Cool. So I'm curious, you know, I think working what some people might consider two opposite ends of the spectrum, you know, like still life versus motion, you know, like film versus photography. I'm not going to ask your favorite, but what do you think is special and different, unique about each art form?
So when I do BTS, that's when they really come together, because I'm like, you know, taking pictures of a cameraman, and like anytime I've done BTS, they like never acknowledge me, which is good. That's like the point. I like being a fly on the wall, and there's something about stills like that. You know, when you capture something, you're really literally preserving a moment. And so if I had to pick between the two, you know, I mean, I love cinema, but you know, I can count on one hand how many times I've been a camera operator. You know, indie stuff, mostly film school.
Yeah.
And I am trying to make my own stuff here, but I've just kind of found myself in photography. So I find a lot of value in like what a picture can bring. And you know, a moving picture, you know, it's like, you know, the 29 frames per second usually. You know, there's something to be said for that, but I think I am just more privy to photography at this point. But yeah, there's definitely something special about both of them for sure.
Absolutely, of course.
No, I love that so much. And I guess because like it's really intriguing for me, because like photography, I feel like is one of the things that I kind of know the least about. And so it's just really intriguing, like hearing you talk about it and just like your passion behind it. Because I think that's honestly my favorite part of this show, is kind of hearing just people's different passions and how they grow and change and can be so many, they can be more than one thing. And I guess kind of honing into all of my thoughts that are bouncing around to a ton of different places. Do you have, because we've talked about some spots that are like hard to shoot, and then we talked about a few spots that you do really like to shoot. Do you have any like favorite spots that you just love?
You know, I'll give Launchpad a shout out. I got some really good shots of that local band Red Light cameras at Launchpad last December, and I felt like a turning point as far as just like stuff I'm posting and how I feel about like launching my page. That was like a moment. I was like, these are some of the best pictures I ever took. Like their front person was just their hair was blowing, and that big black cement wall and launch pad, like there's something about that. If you just center like, and they were all wearing like white clothes. I thought that was cool. Like they're a really cool band that like prepares and does like outfits and stuff. And I see you guys talk about fashion sometimes too. So like they're a really cool band in town that like they always have like an outfit, which I think is cool. It was fun to shoot them. But yeah, I love Launchpad. I love Rensden too. It's just always a challenge. Like, I go to those two venues more than anywhere else. Yeah, Launchpad.
Launchpad is so cool.
Yeah, and I love just taking pictures of the Sandias too. Like when I first moved here, I'd keep my camera in my car, which I've been told to stop doing. But, but I was out like near Mariposa Springs one time, and I just took a picture of like they have like this giant metal sculpture. I think it's for the rattlesnakes, and I like framed a Sandia Peak through it. And I was like, oh, I want to do more nature photography. This is cool. So like, I don't think there's a bad spot in Albuquerque to take pictures, especially outside. I think it's like a great city for like, you know, I think it's cool that UNM has such a good program, and CNM, and all the schools in Las Cruces. This is like a good state to like come up and like go to film school and then not move away and just stay here and work in this state and bring it up. Because when I'm going to tangent a little bit, but when Oppenheimer came out, that's kind of what made me decide to move here. When it won the Oscar, I was like, where was that made? Yeah. And just got fascinated by New Mexico and like learned like all the rich film history here, and yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that especially the Sandias, and even more so at Sunset, I can't think of a better backdrop. You know, they're called the Sandia Mountains for good reason. So, you know, we talked a lot about your history, kind of like directions they're moving right now. What are you working on right now? What projects do you have coming up?
So I'm doing just a lot of like independent photography stuff. I got the grad photo shoot. I have some more bands booking time. You know, I just did some headshots for some friends. Right now, my day job is welding while I'm waiting for a show to fall out of the sky. But you know, I joined 480, and since joining 480, I haven't worked on any union stuff in New Mexico in the last year. But I worked on 3 indie films, and I've been very impressed with the independent scene here.
Oh yeah.
And they've both been sound gigs. I've been boom operating on just day playing on indie shows, and I'm hoping for more stuff like that to come out. But for the most part, just focusing on my photography business, videography as well, and just building up a client base, hoping to get a website out there. But not currently on any shows right now. Just welding 9 to 5 and going out and doing photography for the most part. But I did recently join the AFMX team. If you're not familiar, it's Albuquerque's film and media experience, music fest, and they're doing that's in September 25th to the 29th this year, and they do a lot of events each year leading up to it. And this Friday, or not this Friday, May 2nd, whenever that is, it might be a week or two from now, at UN 17, it's the bar on Cole Avenue. AFMX is hosting a networking event for anybody who's interested, and there's tickets available on their website if anybody feels inclined to go. I'll be shooting that, and I'm the head photographer of that festival as of this year. I volunteered at it last year, and the very talented, my very good friend Jerry Jazz, he decided to step away from that position because he's focusing on his writing. He's also a talented author. And so I'll be running the photography portion of that festival this year. And anybody who volunteers, I'll get to meet them and work with them. So I encourage anybody watching to volunteer.
Totally.
Any UNM film students or CNM, it's a great volunteer opportunity, and you get to meet tons of people.
Oh yeah, check it out, guys. And shameless plug, we actually had a couple people on from AFMX in the past, so check out that video if you haven't, but they were phenomenal. So it's a fantastic community. Excellent. Sweet.
Oh my goodness. I love that so much. That's so exciting. Congratulations on that. I feel like that's the first thing I need to say.
Yeah, it's the first time I get to like say it, and I kind of kept it to myself.
Surprise. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Sweet.
Yeah, AFMX this September.
Fantastic.
I guess as we're starting kind of the round out, not quite yet or anything, do you have any advice for creators, be them young, old, that are just up and coming for be it photography or sound or set deck or any kind of your different fields? Do you have any kind of like, whether it's one sentence or bullet points or?
Oh, absolutely. Don't stop making stuff. You know, there was a time where, you know, I wasn't doing anything creative. It was after college, just struggling, trying to get my foot in the door. And, you know, you see so much, you know, let all the other art around you inspire you. Don't get intimidated by it. If you see someone doing something better than you, be happy for them, like root for them, and then make your thing. And, you know, and just be yourself and network. networking is so important. Like, participate in your community, volunteer, and make stuff for the sake of making stuff. Don't wait for it to be perfect, and don't worry about being judged or someone being like, oh, you're not really a photographer. Just drown out that noise and just be confident and just pick up the camera. It doesn't matter if it's the camera you had in mind. Just make it and just start, and yeah.
Fantastic. I love that idea of what you said about if someone is doing something better than you, appreciate it and just keep doing and keep focusing on your art. Because I think, especially in the creative industry, everyone is so talented, and there are so many people, especially in Albuquerque, doing so many fantastic things, and I think it's easy to kind of get stuck in your head, and let that disconnect you from the field and from your creativity instead of connect and inspire.
No, I agree. I think it's like younger creatives go through it, because at this point, I can't imagine being in that like 18 to 24 generation being like, wow, look at everything that's been done already. It's like, well, like they didn't think that way back then, so just don't do it now. It doesn't matter if the song you're writing, if the chord pattern's been used, it doesn't matter. Just do it, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
I love that. Fantastic. Well, do you have any places where people can find your work, websites?
Yeah, I'm operating pretty much solely off Instagram right now. It hasn't let me down yet. It's kind of like my main platform right now, Instagram.com, and it's just my last name with 3 F's, CHIEFFFALO, and then my Lightcraft Instagram's tagged on there too. And
Perfect.
I'm just using Instagram right now. I'm hoping to have like a website and a YouTube and all that, but right now it's just not the important part. I have like a bunch of stuff I'm trying to post the rest of the year that I shot last year, and that's another more advice I have to people starting out is post. I know we have mixed feelings about who runs Instagram, the Meta company, but whatever. You got to post it somewhere, and I have found kinship with Instagram, so I'm going to keep posting on there until there's a better app. But yeah,
and it's accessible, so good call.
For sure.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, Dylan, thank you so much for being on the show with us. Time always flies by way too fast for these episodes.
Yeah, no.
And
I know, right?
I guess kind of any final words or anything that we want to bring up that you feel like we haven't yet, or
I appreciate you guys having me. Do look into that networking event for AFMX May 2nd. It's on their website, and thank you, Daniel, and the crew here for all having me. I appreciate it. I love Albuquerque so much. I'm really happy to be here.
Fantastic. Again, welcome. We love it too. We love our team. And that is a fantastic segue. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in to today's episode. Our success wouldn't be possible without viewers like you, friends, family, and everyone else who they shared it with, anyone else who's happened upon it. Thank you so much to our sponsors, to Studio 519 for this fantastic space. And please tune in for our next episode. Thank you so much, guys. And once again, I'm your co-host, Simone Campbell.
I'm your co-host, Tevin Brown.
Have a good night.
Cry. I don't hide. I don't